Hello and welcome to the final episode of Green Room Chats Season 1. I'm Victoria Blunt and my guest today is actor, writer, producer, semi-professional footballer and top lad, Ralf Little.
I can't hear you, pal. No, I can't hear you. Oh no. Maybe take out your headphones.
Microphone was on mute, that's why.
I spoke to Ralf earlier this year during lockdown, when he'd just become the lead character in the BBC's hit show Death in Paradise. His career began in his teenage years, with starring roles in cult classic TV shows like The Royale Family and 2 Pints of Lager and a Packet of Crisps. A warning to you, dear listener, this podcast contains some pretty fruity language. Ralf drops the F-bomb very early on and pretty consistently throughout, and I am, of course, very easily influenced. I hope you enjoy the chat.
Hey, lovely. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm good.
Very measured answer. Yeah. As fine as anyone can be these days, yeah.
Yeah, I keep congratulating myself on how well I'm doing, like emotionally. And then I remember I've had a tension headache since June. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, actually. I mean, I'm sort of slightly annoyingly not undergoing the hardships that almost the rest of the world is. So it's difficult to explain that without sounding a little bit smug.
But there must be like an odd sense of guilt that comes with all of the kind of...
Oh, a little bit, yeah. I've got like survivor guilt, you know.
Well, you've been out filming Death in Paradise.
Yes.
So thank you so much for talking to me, because you must be so busy with interviews and all sorts.
I am actually. I have been, but it's it's starting to ease off a little bit now. But it's so funny. You do like 5 months work, and then it's like a few weeks go by, and you go, "That was it, done." How
many seasons do you sign up for, or are you allowed to say?
I've got. I can't remember if I'm signed up for that. I'm definitely signed up for the next one, and then I think we take it from there. But like no one, I think it's been renewed for 2 series. So I mean, I hope so. I hope they want me.
It's a different flavour for you. It's like leading man, primetime telly.
I know. About fucking time, right? Waiting for this shit for 20 years, messing around, playing supporting roles. Yeah, I'm very pleased. I think people feel quite ownership over it, especially people who've been a fan of it since the start. Now that it's sort of had this 10-year kind of seal of approval, I think people are like, yeah, well, I was there from the start. I think people really enjoy that.
Was it scary joining like a juggernaut like that?
Well, it would have been for a normal person, but I'm not normal. I'm abnormal. This is the kind of thing that I've always thought was a great strength, and my missus has pointed out is really fucking weird. Right? I'm like, I don't think about that sort of thing, and she's like, people don't go through life not thinking about things. It's not like a superhuman talent. It's just weird. Basically, I just was excited to do it. I was like, oh, great, really excited to do it. And then it never occurred to me to think, what if people don't like this? I mean, what if this is a disaster? Never occurred to me. And then on the night it was going out, my first series, 20-9, I suddenly went, wait a second, what if people don't like me in this? That was literally, and I condensed about 6 or 7 months of anxiety into 20 minutes and was just like, oh my God, it's only just occurred to me that this could be a fucking disaster. I know. And so suddenly I was like, I can't watch it. My missus was in America. I was back home. I was like, I can't watch it. I just sat at home going, I'm gonna have to watch something else. So I think I put Rick and Morty on Netflix instead. I didn't even watch it go out. I was just sat there on my own, just sort of shaking, going, Jesus, what if this is terrible? And then about 20 minutes in, my missus called me and I answered, and she went, her exact words were, it's okay, I've been watching Twitter, you're a hit, you can crawl out from under your rock now. which is exactly what happened.
That sort of does feel like a superpower though. I'd much rather 20 minutes of excruciating anxiety than like dribbles of panic throughout a 4-month period.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, it works for me. I'm a bit like, I generally tend to be, well, I mean, it doesn't always work. But I tend to be a bit like, well, if I can't do anything about it, I won't worry about it. The very first time I went in front of an audience, I wasn't nervous one iota up until about 2 minutes before. And then suddenly it was like, oh God, I don't even know if I can remember these lines. And 2 minutes before, and then walked out, and then it was fine. So it's got this weird ability to sort of, I don't not have it, I just cram it into a horrendous short space of time and just deal with it then. It's called the Ralf Little ostrich method, I like to call it. Yeah, man, you come back on stage and there's just sand falling all off the top of your head. Yeah.
You said that the first theatre job you did, you suddenly felt that. Was that because I didn't know you were a child actor? I just saw that a few days ago. And so were you in theatre when you were a kid as well, or was it just telly?
Yeah, I mean, like nothing professional. Maybe my professional theatre debut in 2002 when I was 22. I played George Harrison at the Royal Court in a play about the Beatles in Hamburg in the 50s.
And I believe you got nominated for an Olivier Award for that.
Oh,
well, that old thing.
To mention. Do you know what? I'd forgotten. I wasn't even going to bring it up, Victoria, but thank you so much for bringing it up. Yes, it was Olivier, and I was nominated for best newcomer, most promising performer. I think most promising performer is what they call it.
I thought it was Rear of the Year.
Well, you know, I'm going for that one now. Having exposed my backside in Death in Paradise. Yes, so that was my professional thing, but I was doing bits of theatre when I was a kid. My gran was the president of the Somerset Players Amateur Dramatics Society. And Somerset is this tiny little village near Bury, where I'm from. I realised she must have been a massive influence because I guess I sort of performed for her. She kind of doted on me a little bit. I don't know. I got kind of used to the adulation. We're actors. We love praise. What can I say? And I was like, oh, I could get used to this.
I could do that for a job.
I think my mum saw an advert in the Bury Times for a local kids drama group, and she, I assume, just was like, Christ, I've got to get him out of the house. So I played football Saturday mornings, and then I went to this local drama group Saturday afternoons, and I was one of the first through the door when it was set up on its first week. And that's now a big thing as well. It's called the Carol Godby Theatre Workshop in Bury. Huge organisation now. But I started when there was like 7 of us walk through the door, and I was 12. About 6 months later, she set up, this woman, Carol Godby, set up an agency. And I didn't even know what an agency was. And I said to my mum, my mum explained it, and I was like, all right, fine, I guess I'll join that. And about 6 months after that, I got my first audition for this not great kids TV show called Sloggers, about an under-13s cricket team, and in Lancashire. And I auditioned and, you know, got the part, and that was great. Suddenly I was in a TV show at 13, which was just mad. But that was it. That was the sort of start of it all. I mean, I got about one job a year throughout my teenage years. It could be like a 4 days on Coronation Street, or an episode 2 weeks on Heartbeat, or, you know, great, just fun stuff. But it felt so sporadic and so non-secure, you know, so shifting sands all the time. I mean, as it still is, but I just heard, it must have rubbed off on me, this idea that like it was too insecure a profession. It was too difficult to make it work as a profession, and it's difficult to find work, and, you know, it still is for everyone. So it never occurred to me that I would try and be an actor. As like, it was too much of a pipe dream to even consider that it might happen. So it wasn't like, oh, so I was discouraged, so I decided to be a doctor. I was always going to study medicine, and like acting was very much a sideline.
Yeah.
And then I auditioned for this part in this new Caroline Aherne show. And I don't know, I've never really got to the bottom. I've never asked Caroline, but normally you and hundreds of other kids, when you're a child actor, go for one part, and you get, it's like X Factor, but not on TV, and just as painful, and you're children. So you get whittled down from like 500 for the same part through around 400, 300, 200. And then you get down to the last 2, and, you know, often you don't get it. And it's hard, that, for kids. That didn't happen with the Royal Family. I think they only saw about 4 or 5 lads, and I don't really know why, but I'm willing to bet my mortgage that what happened was Caroline and Craig just said to the June West, the casting director at Granada TV, they went, look, we can't be asked seeing hundreds of kids. Just send along 4 or 5 lads that you know, and let's start from there. I had just done children's ward for Granada. I mean, these are the breaks. These are you know, the lucky breaks. How lucky you are. Because I'd just done children's ward, June West got me in, and I went in. I read for 5 minutes, thought I was shit, and then walked out, had got a parking ticket, borrowed my dad's car, got a parking ticket, and by the time I got home, they'd rung to tell me that they wanted me.
Isn't that just the way when you walk out thinking you've done a really shit job, you end up booking it?
Yeah.
And whenever
Same as Death in Paradise. Same as Death in Paradise.
Really?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever got a part where I thought I was good in the audition. There are some auditions I've walked out and I'm so confident that I've actually rung my agent and I've gone, listen, I mean, clear my schedule. They have got to, there's no way, they might as well have offered it to me. They look like they're going to offer it to me in the room. There's no way they're not going to offer this to me. Never got it. Never, ever got it. Walked out 10 feet tall, striding, chest out. Yes, nailed it. Never got it. And then every job I have got, I've thought I was shit in the audition. But I'd rather at least walk out of an audition going, I was fucking terrible, than the worst auditions are the ones where you go, thanks. And you walk out and you go, what just happened? Yeah. Do you ever have them where you walk out and you're just like, you weren't bad and you weren't good. You just sort of turned up. I hate those auditions where you walk out and you just go, I bored myself. I didn't do anything shit. I just did nothing.
And as well, I find these roles are often they're just not for you. They're just not right for you. It didn't sit with you very well. And then
Totally.
You you can't help that.
Well, I've been on the other side of it as well. I've been on the other side of the casting process now, and I initially fell into the same traps that everybody falls into, because you and I, any actors listening to this, we tear our hair out all the time going, stop getting me in for the stuff that I've already done. Like, I don't necessarily just want to audition for, like, after Two Pints, every part I ever went for was like a sort of slightly knockabout comedy. Like, it's a very, very easy thing for casting directors or producers or directors to do. And they're human. They're only human. It's not a criticism. It's a very easy thing for them to go, oh, this is a sort of this archetype. Oh, I know who's done this recently, so-and-so. And it becomes very, very, very difficult to escape a groove if that's the groove that you've been put in. I mean, people say pigeonhole, but it's more like being in a groove. It's like, and again, like, if you're lucky enough to have worked a fair amount in a certain groove, you don't want to be ungrateful, but we're always desperate to be thought of in sort of slightly left field terms, I guess. You don't necessarily just want to play the quirky sidekick, or you want somebody to go, oh, well, this person, it's not very you, this person. They're really cold and they're not very nice, and they're a bit standoffish and very still. And you kind of want to go, yeah, I can do those things. Just give me a chance, right? So I fell into those same traps. Though you go, well, this person's a bit quirky and a bit weird. Okay, who do we know that's quirky and weird? Let's get them in. And we did that for a couple of days. And then Michelle Terry and I, who wrote the show that I did, when we're falling into the same traps here, let's not get people in who've done that. Let's just get people in. Let's get actors in and explain to them that's what we're looking for, and cast the net wider and see how we do. And I'm very proud that we did.
How did you escape from typecasting then, and from that groove that you were put in or expected to be in after something as big as Two Pints?
Well, it's a lovely question, because implied in the question is the idea that I fucking have. I'm still trying. Give me a chance. No, I don't know. With great difficulty. I left Two Pints in something like 2007, after 7 series, I think, and they went on to do 3 more series.
You'd done 55 episodes of that. That's massive. Leaving something like that in a good position must have been a big decision.
Yeah, it was. It was a massive decision. I don't know if it was the right decision. I think my thinking at the time was exactly what we just talked about. I wanted to be. This is a very clumsy way of putting it. It sounds weirdly disrespectful to the others, and it's not meant like that. But I wanted to be the Robbie Williams of Take That. I wanted to be the one that left. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want the show to finish and then us all go, right, what next? I wanted to go, we're in a good place now. I want to go and do other things. And it felt like that was the time. I don't know if it was. Though. It's not held Sheridan back, Natalie back. It's not held Catherine back. She's, Catherine's in Bridgerton now. It's not held Will Mellor back, who did Broadchurch and all that kind of thing. So I think all I did was just stop myself being in a beloved show for 3 years, which I wish I would have just carried on doing. I think I have struggled, if I'm honest. I think I've struggled for about 20 years to move away from the skinny kid in the Royale Family and the gawky lad in Two Pints. Well, I say 20 years. I left Two Pints in 2007, so 13 years. I think it took me till 2019, 12 years to escape it. They felt like they were fewer and further between the opportunities I had where people would take a chance on me, and until Death in Paradise came along, I'll be honest, by the time I was about 38, 39, I'm 40 now, 41 next week. When I was about 38, 39, I was starting to think, is my career sort of this now? Like, if I'm lucky, you know, one job a year, and not necessarily a lead, or I don't know. I've found it very difficult to break away from being that skinny kid it's that skinny 18-year-old. I think I'm so firmly rooted in the national psyche as an 18-year-old skinny kid, and I think it's taken Death in Paradise to change that. I've been waiting for it for years, and trying, you know, writing my own stuff, which has been a blessing, and producing my own stuff, which has been a blessing, and I've had the opportunity to do different jobs and different things, but it's not just doing them. They have to take off. They have to be seen. It's a very difficult industry. I think the dream for me, I had a real sort of think about this to myself. And I think to be able to work consistently, to be able to go from one job and then have a little break and then go to another job and then to another job. That's things like winning Oscars and being a huge Hollywood film star and all that. That's fine. That can stay in the realms of pipe dreams, because it only takes one phone call. That's the thing about our profession as well. It takes one phone call to change everything, no matter what level you're at. That's the crazy thing. But even if we leave this in sort of cloud cuckoo land here, to be able to work consistently on things that you believe in, that's success. That's absolute top level success. That's the real privilege, I think. And I'm not there yet. So that would be my ambition, I think. I mean, obviously, you know, if Spielberg sees this and goes, "You look perfect for something," I'll be like, "Right, okay, great." But you know,
Spielberg will call and say, "You look perfect for a skinny 18-year-old guy that I'm."
Yeah, I don't care. Whatever, I'll shave. Whatever you need. I think both things can be true at once. I'm very grateful for where I've been at, and it's not whinging, but yeah, you're allowed to have kind of ambition, and that's what I would like, to be able to work consistently on things that I believed in, whether that is theatre and film and TV. If you believe in it, then if you're doing a job you enjoy and on a project you enjoy, then you're a rich man.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the reasons I'd like to be able to get to this point of being able to work consistently is because that feeling of finishing a job and then going, what next? What if nothing comes along? That never goes away. And by any measure of what that is, yes, I am extremely lucky to have never had to take on another job. And that's something to be very aware of and grateful for. But that feeling never goes away.
I suddenly felt really disappointed when you said that, because I thought, oh God, I thought I was going to grow out of this.
Well, honestly, it's weird, man. It is weird. I had this conversation. Here's a lovely name drop story for you. I had this conversation with Dara O'Brien. And Dara, I first met when I was 22 in Edinburgh, and he was sort of making a name for himself, but not really well known. And we had this very conversation, and I made this joke to him, and I said, it was a couple of years ago, and I was like, do you think that everyone's like this? Do you think that somewhere, even like Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp's fallen on some pretty tricky times recently, but this is when he was still at his height of his, you know, this is about 3 years ago, this was conversation. So do you think somewhere Johnny Depp's out there going, oh, dear me, that movie I did, The Lone Ranger, people didn't seem to like that. It didn't really go down that well. Oh, I only need to make 2 more of those, and is my career finished? Like, maybe that feeling is just what this profession is. I don't know. Maybe it draws up the kind of people who think like that to it. I don't know. But anyway, Dara's response to me was, he said, it's crazy, isn't it? He said, he said, me too. He said, I literally said to my wife about 3 weeks ago, he said, I've got a national tour coming up that's almost sold out. I've got mocked a week on a weekly basis, and I've just got this new show on BBC Two. I can't remember what it was, and my mortgage is covered. My kids are in school. Blah blah blah. He said, "Can I finally exhale?" And I was like, "Yeah, but." I hope I get to a place where, to use this thing, I can finally exhale. And more to the point, I hope that if I ever do get to that place, I can recognize it, because there's nothing fucking worse than being someone for whom nothing is good enough. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that person. And so, like I say, both things can be true. You can have ambition, but you've got to recognize when you've been lucky, and you've got to recognize, how things really are. When you have auditions, you take them seriously, and you decide that there are no small parts, and you get over your own ego, and that takes time as well. and you go into an audition with the intention of nailing it, and then when you've got a job, you fucking turn up on time and know your lines and are nice to everyone, and do everything you can to be the best you can in it, which sounds obvious, but not everyone does that.
But I love as well about there's no small parts. There's that saying, there's no small parts, only small actors. And I think that's a really good thing to always have in the forefront of your mind.
Well, I've said this to you before, but I'll say it to you again. I'll say it for public record now. So when I produced Borderline for Channel 5, did a comedy, the second series of a sort of improvised comedy, we had a part, and I was like, I think Victoria could do this. I can't remember. Did you do a reading for us, or did you come in straight to do it? Because I had to convince my producing partner as well. But like, you came into that with all these seasoned. I don't think you'd ever done any professional improv before. All these seasoned improvisers from Ostentatious and all this kind of people who've been doing it at Edinburgh for years, and you fucking nailed it. That's what I mean. There are no small. I'm serious. But it was one day, one afternoon. But you come in and you do the job, and you get on with people, and you hope to forge relationships, and that's how the industry works.
And so, thinking about people then who are just finishing the end of their training at drama school, or people who have just been doing on the job training, or people who've literally just got their first headshots and are thinking, I'm going to give it a go. Is there anything else you wish you'd heard when you were first starting out?
I guess, and my agents have said to me, and they're absolutely right, that you've got to stay in your own. You've got to, we're all the hero of our own movie, which is a fun analogy for considering we're talking literally about that. But we're all the protagonists in our own, in the movies of our lives, and you have to stay in that movie and not let other people become the protagonist. It doesn't matter what you're. Everybody has their nemesis. It doesn't matter, and then your nemesis changes as well over time. It doesn't matter what they're doing. All that matters is that you're, and if you've not got an audition, then, and this is your passion and you really want to, then read True or False by David Mamet and see if you agree with his ideas. And if you don't, then if you want to be more Stanislavski, and read those books and go on. I don't know, if you think that your breathing technique needs work, do that. If you've got a good voice but it needs a bit of training, go and find some singing lessons. Go and work on accents. Like Andy Serkis didn't just wake up one day and be able to be Gollum and then King Kong. Like, he learned that because it was fascinating to him. So there's always something to be done. There's always, vocal technique, work on your voice. There's always things to be done. That's something I've learned as I've got older, is stop complaining. I had to have a real word with myself in my kind of early to mid 30s. Stop fucking complaining. Shut up. I bored myself complaining about why is so-and-so getting this and why is so-and-so getting that. Shut up. Sit down, write something, do something. Writing is everything. It doesn't matter if it never ever gets, like, you've got to also then have the bollocks to let somebody else read it. But even the act of writing itself is everything. It doesn't matter if you think you shit at it. I couldn't recommend it more highly. It's transformative. The only thing that differentiates a great writer and you, or rather the only thing that stops you being a great writer, is picking up a pen or sitting down and typing. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. It took me 12 years into my career before I finally tried to write something. And when I did, it was fucking hard work. It's hard work, and it's largely boring, and it's like wading through treacle because you're like, oh, you're just staring at a blank screen and a cursor going, what next? But I tell you something, the difference between waiting for the phone to ring from your agent and going, oh, there's no work at the moment. The difference between going to bed and thinking that, and the difference between going to bed and thinking, I've got 10 pages of a script today, or I've got 10 pages of a novel, or I've got 10 pages of a fucking article, or writing is everything. If you'd have asked me this a few years ago about writing, it would have been a very different answer, because what I would have said was, oh, it's a piece of piss. All you do is write your first idea and then it gets commissioned and it gets made, because that's what happened to me. However, turns out it's not as simple as that. I've written loads of shit since then. None of it's been made. I've plateaued. I've done the same as I did in my acting career. Fucking hell. This is my life. Here's some advice for people.
Go on.
People who don't do this job, people who aren't even trying to do this job, people who aren't in this profession don't understand what it is. Well, they don't understand a day in the life of. And I don't even mean whether if you're waiting tables to supplement your income or you're working constantly. Your parents, unless they're actors, don't fucking understand what you're going. They just don't. Your contemporaries do, and and you find an agent who you have a good dialogue with, because people who aren't in the industry they try and offer advice, and it sucks. Without question, it sucks, and they only mean it from a good place, but it sucks. So my girlfriend's mum, my American girlfriend's mum, love her. She's a ledge, but she's always trying to give me advice. But the other day she goes to me, she has, I always take the piss out of her, so she sounds like Lois Griffin. She's like, hey, Ralph, I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about your career, and I had a thought. And I'm like, okay, what is it, Margie? She goes, why don't you just ring up James Corden? He's here, and just say, get me on your show. You know him, right? That's not how it works. I can't ring up James and go, hey, mate, listen, I know nobody in America knows me. And there's a whole load of fucking producers on your show, but you can bump Matt Damon, will you? Get me on so I can talk about a show that nobody in this country knows about. And it's really difficult not to get a bit pissed off with and see, I have to sort of grit your teeth and go, thanks, Margie. I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you thinking about my career, but I tell you what, just leave it to me.
That was some of my favorite lockdown advice, was someone in my family saying to me, now theatre's stopped, why don't you look at maybe going into film?
Oh, films. Oh shit, there's me. I've been turning them down left, right and center. Who gives this advice? Who thinks that's helpful? Films. People not in the industry don't know. If your parents are actors or producers or directors and they give you advice, listen to their advice. If anyone else who's not in the industry in your family, they do it with the best of intentions, it is probably wise early to set boundaries and go, I don't need advice from you, thank you. Unless the advice is, chin up, don't worry, keep plugging away, it might happen, or find something else to busy yourself with. That's good advice. Anything else, no.
As well, I realized I had to stop sharing with people who weren't in the industry what auditions I had, because I found if I get something, it would break my heart, then it would break their heart, and then it would break my heart again.
It's one of the biggest things you have to learn in this game is to it's a mad profession, this, because it draws to it, but by our very nature, I mean, this is a generalization, I'm sure everybody's different, but by our very nature, actors in the main, we thrive off validation, external validation from other people. This is why therapists have a field day with actors. We thrive off validation. That's what applause is. We love it. We love it. So it draws to it people. There's a profession. It draws in people who thrive off, and in the worst cases, need external validation. It also simultaneously is the profession which requires, for you to stay sane, you to have a very strong sense of internal validation and not worry too much about what other people think. So no wonder actors are so often fucking going through a difficult time, because we're completely at odds with our own mentality. That's the other thing I was going to say about my mum. The other thing that people who aren't in the industry will do is they will compare. They'll be devastated about auditions that you don't get. So I tell nobody nothing until I've got it. Until I'm starting a job, I say nothing. And even then, until like I'm sure that the funding's not going to fall out of a movie or whatever. My mom goes, and she does this a lot. She compares my career to other people's. Now, I've already said that it's very important to learn not to do that. So when other people are doing it for you, it's really not fucking helpful. It's hard enough. It's hard enough to not do it. But other people doing it is not helpful. And my mom not only compares them, but she compares them to the most inappropriate people. Inappropriate. So I talked about Danny Mays earlier, for example. Fabulous actor. He and I sort of, we look vaguely similar. He's slightly older than me, but we look vaguely similar. You could see that we might be in contention for the same roles. So he is like, I guess, a contemporary. He's working more than I am, and he's fabulous. But like, you know, that would be the kind of a next step for me. My mum's never heard of Danny Mays, so she doesn't compare me to him. That at least we could have a conversation about. My mum compares me to Sheridan Smith. Mum, we're not going up for the same roles. Sheridan's won a BAFTA. Okay, well, actually, it was for Mrs. Biggs. I wasn't in the audition room, Mum. Give me a fucking break. I never forget I read something when I was about 25. I read True or False by David Mamet. I mentioned it earlier. David Mamet has this theory that every actor has the same breaks over a 20-year period. That's his firm belief. And some people get it when they step out of drama school. And some people get it in their 20th year after they've left drama school. But the thing is, a lot of people aren't ready after 20 years to take that break because they've given up, or by necessity, they've had to do something else. You know, it's easy to say they've given up, but like they've just had to do something else because life is life. But if you can stick with it, and if you can find ways to keep that creative spirit going, if you can find ways to keep your skills sharp, David Mamet's theory, his belief is that it comes around. Everybody gets their shot. Everybody gets a shot over a 20-year period, and you never know when you're going to get it. And the trick is to be ready to grasp that opportunity with both hands. And I think there's something heartwarming about that. There's something beautiful about that. Keep the skills sharp. Keep being ready to go. You never know when somebody's going to remember you from a thing you did 5 years ago and go, yeah, I met them in that room, but they'd be great for this. Fucking Peter Jackson. I mean, obviously The Office, the British Office, was a massive international smash, of course. But Peter Jackson saw Martin Freeman in The Office and went, I want him to play Bilbo Baggins one day. No way. And then something, I think 10 years went past, at least 10 years before The Hobbit, I think it was. And Martin wasn't available, I think, and I can't remember. But basically, yes, Martin was doing Sherlock. That's the story. Martin was doing Sherlock, and he wasn't available. And Peter Jackson wanted him, and Martin was under contract and couldn't get out of Sherlock. And bless him, took it incredibly professionally. And Martin went, "I'm under contract. That's the way it goes. Thank you, but I can't do it." And imagine having to make that call. Yeah. And then Peter Jackson waited for him. Now, listen, we are talking about somebody who already had a huge level of success with The Office and then was in Sherlock, which is another big, huge show. I'm not saying that Martin came from nowhere, but I am saying that he had this opportunity for global Hollywood stardom with Bilbo Baggins, and then it seemed to be taken away from him. And he just kept his cool and took it with dignity and grace and kept his skills sharp and whatever. And then it came back around. So, you know, anyone who happens to be listening to this, for any advice and everything, just keep going.
And as well, never knowing who's watching and when that could come back.
Never.
And when that might benefit you again sometime. So
exactly. Thank
you, Ralf. Really great advice. Thank you so much.
Great. My pleasure. I just love talking about myself. I'm a horrible narcissist. The chronic narcissist. It's just like, oh, don't go. Have you got another couple of hours? I got loads more stories. Let's go back to when I was 12.
So that's it. That was the final Green Room chat of season 1, and what a chat to end on. Thank you, Ralf, for your time and good humour, and thank you for joining us and for all of your lovely feedback. It is very much appreciated. I plan on being back in a few months' time with season 2, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I've got 5 more industry professionals lined up, and I can't wait to share their insights with you. Make sure you subscribe to hear it first. This podcast was recorded, edited and produced by me, Victoria Blunt, with massive thanks to Alistair MacDonald, Eva Filer, Emma Fawcett and Alan Stanley Harrison. Music is, as always, by the musical mastermind, Joey Hickman. See you soon!